Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
What's your outlet?
Welcome, everybody, to a long overdue edition of All I Come and Listen. Big news coming out of KeyBank Center just within the last hour. The moniker of Tage Coin, which was born right here at Two Goalies on Mike Trainwreck Sports Crossing Swords podcast. Tage signed a 7-year, $50 million extension. Couldn't be happier with that number. Honestly, I thought it was going to be higher, Steve.
Yeah. I mean, the comparables that people have pointed to when talking about a Tage Thompson extension were Josh Norris, Robert Thomas. Both of them, I believe Norris was just shy of 8 mil. Rob Thomas just a little bit above. So this is a full mil below. So the thing I like most about this financially is not just, an affordable contract for just one player. It sets a precedent to every single forward on this team to say, if you want more than $7 million, you have to get on the ice and prove to me that you are officially a better producer than Tage Thompson, which right now no one is, which I think is an incredibly important thing to do if the goal for this team is to draft a team, develop a team, keep the kids that want to be here around. There needs to be enough money for everybody. And setting that precedent that right now, this era of Sabres hockey, with the exception of Jeff Skinner getting grandfathered in, 7 mil's the ceiling. You want more? Get out there and break the ceiling. Jack Quinn, go break the ceiling. Dylan Cousins, go break the ceiling. Middlestat, break the ceiling. Savoy, when he gets here. You got to do it. Otherwise, that's the top. And I think that's incredibly important, especially with all these RFAs and entry-level contracts coming to an end in the next couple of summers. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, again, I expected him to probably come around that $8 million mark. To see him, come in below that is a breath of fresh air, especially with that long of an extension. You see the guy score, was it 38 goals last season? Was it 38?
38 goals, 30 assists, 68 points. Yep.
And, with his size, playing a more important position than Jeff Skinner on the wing, who's making $9 million a year, to see him come in under 8. I mean, I think you have the potential a few years down into this deal that to be a huge, huge steal. You got people kind of look at Nathan McKinnon's contract, not saying that he's going to be Nathan McKinnon, but you look at Nathan McKinnon's contract, and that's probably the best contract in the NHL at the time, throughout its course. You were getting an MVP caliber player at that price tag. Now, I'm not saying, again, we're not comparing, it's apples to oranges. We're not comparing Tage Thompson saying he's going to be Nathan McKinnon. But to get him at that number, especially if he exceeds expectations this next year, because what he did last year, nobody saw coming. I don't care what you say. You're a liar to me if you say you knew he was going to have that type of a season. To see him come in at that number was like a 7.1, 7.2, like roughly. Is that what it is?
7.14, something repeated.
Yep. So to have him come in at that number, that's a huge breath of fresh air. I think that has the potential to be a steal, maybe even as soon as next year, and this time next year.
Oh, well, I mean, this last year he's still on that $1.4 million deal, but this would be the year after that, the 2023-2024 season when this would kick in. But right now he's still on the final year of that 1.4 deal, which again is, I mean, I don't think anybody got more out of $1.4 million in the league last year than the Sabres got out of Tage. But yeah, no, I mean, that's exactly right. Like, again, nobody's saying that, Tage is going to be the next McKinnon, but ultimately, like, the most value for your dollar, this contract will kick in when he's 25 and won't expire until he's 32, which is roughly when the drop-off for pretty much anybody in the league will start, even for your superstars. And he might not always be 70-plus points, but even if 75 points per season is where he roughly averages, $7 million, that's a lot easier to swallow than if, we're doing the thing that so many teams do where you have one productive season and you sign them to a boatload of money, Jeff Skinner. And again, I love Jeff Skinner, but no, there's no way around it. That's just a bad contract. I can understand the context of why that contract was signed when it was the way it was, because I think with the exception of Jack Eichel, like Jeff Skinner was pretty much the only good news that team had to talk about, because he came in on that prove it contract.
Yeah.
He proved it. And then it's like, you're just going to let him walk?
Well, he was always one of the better 5-on-5 top 5-on-5 goal scorers in the league up and before he was a Buffalo Sabre. It was just how he catapulted from while playing with Jack Eichel. And again, I would say Jason Botterill was between a rock and a hard place. He was not in a good position. Yeah. You know what I mean? Looking back on it, you probably don't want him to sign him to that deal. But at the end of the day, like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You know, you're gonna have the villagers with their pitchforks outside your door, no matter what, essentially. And I again, looking at what he did last year, if he can be a consistent 60-point player through the rest of his contract, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. It's still an overpayment. It's still a bad contract, but at least he's putting up 60 or more points while playing on a line. You know, again, just because Tage Thompson got this bag, I mean, I don't think that secures him as your number one center going forward. I still think there's an opportunity for a 1A, 1B situation, because I truly think he's still better fit as your second line center, where he could still probably produce. I predict at least, around 80 points next season, make that big jump even more so, because I think there's nothing wrong with having great depth down the middle. So that last time the Sabres were great, when they were making their cup runs, that's what they had. They had depth down the middle. You had Breer, you had Drury, you had Derek Roy. You had the three studs down the middle, and, each and every one of them are liable to put up anywhere between 70 to 80 points. There's nothing wrong with having stability down the middle, and sometimes you got to pay for it. In this case, you did. But hopefully this turns out to be an underpayment.
Yeah, and I mean, I do think it's going to just raise the compete level amongst that forward core. I mean, just in the roster right now that we can name off the top of our heads, Tage is your number one, but then there's Casey Middlestat, who, until he got injured in that very first game, you could have made the argument that he might have been gunning for that number one spot, which is really what made them switch Tage to center in the first place, is that Middlestat was injured in the very first game of the season. Otherwise, this could, it's a what-if machine that you want to get in on that. But, but that him, Middlestat, Cousins, and Krebs, who are both still younger and developing, but still, just those four people alone could be your four centers right now. And then in the pipeline, obviously, we already talked about Savoy, but Ostlund, Yuri Kulik can play center.
Sabres are in such good shape for
even Tyson Kozak. He could be your fourth line guy at some point. I don't know. There's just no way to know exactly how it's going to shape out. But right now there's within the next 3 years there could be 7 guys gunning for the number one job. And they might all have enough upside to have a valid claim to that throne. This is going to be again, I think that this number does a lot for the compete level for everybody in that core, because now they know his numbers are the numbers to beat, and if I want more money, that's what I got to go out and do. And we've heard enough that Cousins and Krebs are just insanely competitive just with one another as just players, just as contemporaries. So now they kind of see this little carrot dangling over. It's dang, they know what they got to do if they want to get that big bag. Because
it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the forward depth plays out come training camp. I think outside of a small handful of players, for me, I think that no position safe on this team. If you come to training camp and you perform and you outperform your competition, there should be reason to believe that they make the team, no matter who it is. Again, you're not going to get that with Jeff Skinner. You're not going to get that with Tage Thompson. But if you don't come prepared and you're not prepared to perform, I think you need to set the precedent that your job could be on the line. If somebody comes in here and outperforms you, I love the swagger of Yuri Kulik, because he says, I expect to be in the NHL next year. Will he be? Probably not. But to have that type of confidence in yourself, and just to see kind of what he did on the international stage over the last, a few weeks ago, kid has an insane NHL ready release. He's just, he's everything as advertised, when he was drafted late in the first round. I can't believe he fell as far as he did, to be quite honest with you. But I'm super excited, man. I'm super excited for the blue line and the potential that we have there with Owen Power, Matthias Samuelson, Rasmus Dahlin, Labushkin, who I think will end up forcing on the slide Yoki Haru down to this third pairing, which I think he'll be fine. I actually think he'll thrive there. I think he will. I think you'll get better production out of him in that role, and if there's an injury, at least that you can bring him up to your second pairing and he can fit right in.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I definitely loved watching Kulik's play. And, he may not be in the NHL roster in night one, but I think he's pretty much at this point kind of sealed himself a spot within Rochester, which to go from, international juniors play to I'm in the minor league of the show, that's a pretty big jump in progress for an 18-year-old to be making. And I honestly think, we're going to be looking at a similar like JJ Paterka situation where it's like everyone's eyes are on Jack Quinn, but holy shit, this kid is good. And I feel like the same sort of thing might be happening with, if I'm not, Olivier Nadeau, he's the one who's out for 6 months, but I believe at least shouldn't Kisakov and Josh Bloom also be with Rochester this year?
They should be, yes.
Yes, I mean,
I had the opportunity to meet Josh Bloom's father at development camp, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. But really good guy. I thought his son had a great development camp. I think he'd be a shoo-in Rochester for next season.
Yeah.
I like to see where his game has come. So, but this gets me excited for the season. I was already excited, already kind of talking about possibly getting seasons again with my dad. I mentioned, I talked a little bit about with you.
Yeah.
This kind of gets you amped up a little bit for the season, and you see, I was kind of browsing through Twitter once, kind of trying to find a good video to post, along with the announcer for the signing. And God, man, Tage just, I remember when Don Granato said that when he moved him to center, he said, just start shooting the puck, use your size to your advantage, start shooting the puck. Stop hesitating, use your body, use your size. And just to see that guy's release last season, you always know he had a decent shot, but last season, I mean, he really put a lot of the league on notice that this guy has a fucking cannon. I tweeted it out. I'm glad we get to see these Tage Thompson clap bombs for the next 7 years. And that guy, yeah, maybe right now you think of that spot he sits on the power play, you would think of Eichel. But, I mean, there's no reason to believe that he can't be that same guy on the power play, just hammering that puck through goalies. Not even just by, but through goalies. So, at 7.14, I think that's a good price for Tage Thompson, especially when, you see what Don Granato's been able to do with this team and what he's been able to get out of players that have underperformed in the past and just really turn their development around. And I can't wait to see how that continues with Tage. I hope he put in a phenomenal offseason. I hope he put on even more size, make himself more dangerous, make himself more intimidating. I loved everything about the way the season ended. The camaraderie, the players sticking up for one another, not backing down, not just accepting the season for what it was and going out there and leaving it all on the ice. And I'm excited to see where that goes going forward. And I think the answer to, what team will have it also start in net, because Comrie and as it sits right now, Craig Anderson are your number one and number two, maybe 1A, 1B. I don't think Comrie's a shoo-in for the starting job. I mean, it could be Anderson. You never know. But I think it all starts in net and fixing that issue, which I hope with the Comrie signing and bringing back Craig Anderson, that has fixed that issue for at least for next season.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I kind of want Comrie to have the starting job, if for no other reason he has yet to have a starting job in this.
You want to give him a shot.
Yeah, right now, with the exception of a perfectly serviceable 41-year-old Craig Anderson, no one is fighting you for that crease. It is yours. It's your crease to lose. So give it to him opening night, see how he performs. If he folds like a lawn chair, have another conversation. But you still have Craig in your back pocket. But
exactly.
But yeah, I mean, there's nothing but up. There's, at this point, we really don't have anything to lose. The real goalie prospects are a few years out. We got to do something. It can't just be the Craig Anderson show. There's only so much life that dude can have left in him. He's been playing the game since before some of the people watching this episode might have even been born, or like before they could even walk. Hockey's a young man's game, and unfortunately, it will eventually leave our boy Craig behind. But that's no knock on Craig. I'm 32 and I can barely do anything. So
yeah, man, I'm 35 years old and I can barely bend over to put my socks on. So, and I'm not lying.
I'm looking forward to seeing what Eric Comrie can do, especially with all those comments that I watched from the Sabres Live podcast, where he's just talking about how much he gets out of just the act of practice, which you never hear anybody talk about, how amped they are to just practice with the team, which I guess if you've been in Connor Hellebuck's shadow for 5 years, that's kind of all you had. But just to have that kind of enthusiasm, just to run some little fucking shooting drills and just, get to know the boys in a practice setting, and that's how you want to earn your bread and butter. It's an interesting philosophy, and I don't think we've seen it in the Sabres crease in a while, but I don't think we're going to get a guy that just, it sounds like he's just laser focused, absurd dedication to the craft. And yeah, I just see nothing but upside with the guy. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him just kind of shut a few mouths. It's like, I'm not a backup. I could be the real fucking thing. I just haven't had an opportunity yet.
When you think about laser focus and that, and, taking the intricacies of practice more seriously than others, I'm not comparing the two goaltenders in terms of skill and career, because obviously Eric Comrie and this guy are just at two completely different levels. But you think about Ryan Miller, the focus and just the mental beast he was, how he took, and there was a reason why reporters would go to him first in the locker room during post games, because he always had a solid answer. He always had a well thought out answer and presented it, with facts, and just, he always had a good soundbite. So, including, calling Milan Lucic a piece of shit, which is, obviously his most memorable. But yeah, I like those things that I read about Eric Comrie. Hopefully, that type of laser focus and that work ethic, shows during the regular season, because I'm tired of, seeing us fall in the bottom 15 of the draft, you know what I mean? Or the top 15 of the draft. I want to be fighting, and again, the season won't be a disappointment for you, but I'll be fighting for a playoff spot this season. I want to be on the outside looking in, being in the hunt, so to speak. I think this team could potentially be that team. I'm not considering predict a playoff berth, but there's no reason to think that this team, A, isn't better, and B, won't move the needle forward enough to be, coming in the last 20 games of the season, have us watching the standings more than we ever have.
Yeah. And just given at least within our division, just how much change happened with the Ottawa Senators. And you could also argue Detroit.
The Senators are going to be a good team next year.
At least from Ottawa. I guess the ultimate debate is how do you build a winning team? Do you buy it or do you grow it? This season will kind of be an answer to that question, at least in the Atlantic Division. Buffalo's clearly been growing their team, and Ottawa just made a couple very big purchases in the offseason. Very good players.
Obviously being the biggest. I think they've improved themselves in net for sure. Mm-hmm. I still laugh about Matt Murray going to Toronto and I'm thinking that's an upgrade. It's hilarious.
Matt Murray and Varlamov. No, not Varlamov. Fucking who's the other capital that went there? God damn. It was somebody else that I was just like, oh my goodness.
I know who you're talking about.
Samsonov. Murray and Samsonov are the solution.
Samsonov, when he was in the KHL, he was one of the more higher touted goalie prospects of the previous decade. And what a bust that's been so far. The guy hasn't been able to get it together at the pro in the NHL. Has had flashes here and there, but he just never really been able to be consistent. So,
doesn't your buddy Drury always say, "Hey, high glove"? Because he really does not like Samsonov.
No,
from the few shows that I was on with our buddy there. He does have a lot of nice things to say about Ilya Samsonov, and he's a Caps homer.
Oh yeah, but I remember when we were doing the playoff shows, you just cringe at the thought of Samsonov being in that. It's just like, oh, dude,
oh yucks,
guaranteed three goals. So almost the guarantee. But yeah. So with that being said, man, I mean, I don't have much more. I'm excited for the potential of Tage. I'm excited to see who's going to be fighting for spots on this team. Will it be Quinn? Will it be Paterka? Will it be Yuri Kulik? Who knows? Like, again, I think the spots that are available on this team, should it be just handed out to anybody? If you outperform somebody who has a contract, there's no reason to think, in my opinion, this team hasn't been good enough to the point where you got to say no. Like, I'm sorry, this guy's under contract for the next so-and-so year. No. If somebody comes into camp, if Jack Quinn comes into camp, if JJ Paterka comes into camp, and they absolutely light a fire, light a fire under the coaching staff's ass. Like, I find I'm hard pressed to keep them off the roster. Hockey, as much as you want to stay loyal to who's been loyal, it's a business at the end of the day. And if they're going to perform and give you a better chance to win out there on the ice, you bring them in. So again, those are the two big names for me that I want to see where they end up. If one of them is making this roster, 100%. All signs towards Jack Quinn with the series season. But JJ Paterka had a great year last year too.
Yeah.
When Quinn was out with injury, who picked up the dead weight, or who put the team on his
who picked up the slack? Yeah, JJ Paterka. Yeah. You don't got to tell me twice. And I get that Jack Quinn was AHL Rookie of the Year. I'm not taking anything away from Jack Quinn's ability to finish.
No.
But me personally, I feel that JJ Paterka does have the capacity to be a more complete 200-foot player
100%.
than Jack. And if that's what you value, a complete full player who can also finish, or just a dude who can finish more effectively,
yep.
I honestly think the spot should go to Paterka if you're only choosing one.
Or
you might make the argument in the other direction that because Jack Quinn needs that work to develop his game 200 feet, maybe he ought to do that with the big boys rather than send him down to the minors for another year, because JJ's ready. I know JJ's ready. I think he's ready. I kind of respect the fact that they haven't just put Anders Bjork on waivers yet, but I think ultimately after training camp, I would not be even the least bit surprised to see we have put Anders Bjork on waivers. If somebody wants to pick him up, great, have fun with him. Otherwise, we send him down to Rochester, but there cannot be a roster spot for Anders Bjork.
No.
Like, his defensive game does not even merit that he should be a part of this roster. With the young kids just like sniffing at the carcass, trying to get a fucking tear at it. I'm sorry, Anders Bjork is easily the weakest link in the chain.
And we got the prospects challenge coming up too.
Oh yeah,
15th and 19th. That's the first opportunity we're going to get to see some Sabres hockey here. Teams involved, obviously the Sabres, the Bruins, the Canadians, Devils,
I believe the
Senators, and Penguins. Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of teams involved in this, and it's being hosted right here in Buffalo. So we get a good opportunity. I know me and you talked about it. Get down there and see these kids up close and personal. So obviously, with anyone under a college, college prospect playing college, guys like Devin Levi and Ryan Johnson will be there.
Eric. No.
Yeah, Eric Portillo won't be there. So I'm not sure what types of goal that kid that we just drafted. I'd assume as long as he's healthy, he'll be there. I would assume maybe would UPL be there?
I mean, technically, right now he doesn't have a contract with his team right now, so that's actually still.
They did not qualify him. They did not.
They qualified. They qualified everybody.
No, but you know what I mean, though. They haven't given.
They haven't announced that a contract has been signed. I don't know. I mean, I've heard, I haven't heard any rumblings that he's going back to Europe or anything to have a starting job or anything like that. But when the deal is a little bit less of a priority, sometimes it drags into the end of August, beginning of September. But I mean, September is in 2 days. The prospect challenge is in 2 weeks from there. it's kind of getting a little bit concerning that we haven't heard anything. Like, I figured we would hear something by now. Like, I was clamoring for it at the end of July. Like, where's his contract? Where's his contract? It's been like 3 weeks since free agency started. They qualified him. What's up? But yeah, nothing. Kind of in radio silence. And I've seen a couple people, every so often when the Sabres post it. So what about that UPL contract? And no one's saying anything. So technically, until he gets pen to paper and signs something, no, he wouldn't be there because right now he's technically not. He's still an RFA, but he's not yet a Sabre or an American, and it's interesting to see where those chips fall. But barring more injuries, of course, I think he's got the starting spot in Rochester at the very least. You've got a starting spot somewhere.
Agreed.
So I don't know what you're doing. I mean, if you want, I get it. If he's got family and wants to go home, that's everybody's got the reasons. Yeah. But if it's just a matter of I'm not getting enough ice time, like if your body holds up, you can stay in the net in Rochester as long as you want. Like Malcolm Subban's, I think he's still recovering from whatever he's got going on. So I don't think he's gunning for anything anytime soon. And like literally everybody else, I think. Like I don't think Hauser's in the mix. Obviously Aaron Dell went back to San Jose.
They're gonna have to find
Tokarski got picked up by someone. I don't even remember who the fuck picked up Tokarski, but was it the Penguins?
Have they announced the rosters yet? I don't think they have. It's still pretty close. I don't think any rosters have been actually named.
How the fuck did I remember Dustin Tokarski got picked up by the Penguins? Why is that information I have in my brain?
It's funny.
But I mean, again, he's a perfectly serviceable backup, but he's not anybody I want seeing an NHL crease. But yeah, so we'll see what happens with UPL because as of right now, he's still just a little blue box on Cap Friendly, and I have no idea what's going on with that because I'm not behind those doors.
Well, anyways,
no prospect rosters yet. I think they're going to save that probably for week of to get you hype.
Yep, I'm pretty excited for the prospects challenge to see. I know Matthew Savoy was hurt during development camp, so I know he didn't really participate. Aaron Huglen was hurt, so he wasn't participating in a lot of the on ice stuff. I assume we'll probably get Josh Bloom again. Guys like that'll be there. I think the Sabres will have a team that will contend to win this whole thing, no doubt. Again, especially with the kid that they drafted. I'm sorry, his name escapes me. It's really, Steve, if you can pull that up real quick.
Which
he was number one ranked goalie in Europe.
Lennon.
Yeah, Lennon. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I think he also go out of the.
He didn't. He got hurt. He was hurt.
Got a little banged up as well.
Yeah. So I would imagine that if he's healthy, he'll be there, possibly starting, and they just need one other guy. And I don't know who that would be right now, because again, I can't see UPL going back for another prospect. At what point is he done being a prospect?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the prognosis of Subban, but maybe that's where he's just. I mean, I know he's definitely not a fucking prospect.
No, he's been around for quite a bit.
I don't know. Maybe it's just you're like the emergency backup. If for whatever reason Lennon goes down again, we need somebody to fill a spot. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I guess the other choice would probably have to be. Are you still a prospect at the age of 23? Because that's how old UPL is.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, really. I don't know, man. I don't know. I if anything, you have him there just to get on the ice and take some pucks. Sure. That I can see. Looking at potential roster for the Prospects Challenge. Again, I'm pretty positive if you're playing college, you can't play in this. I'm pretty sure that's the rule. I want to say.
You're probably busy either because most colleges have started already. So you're probably already spoken for.
We're looking at guys like Brett Murray.
Yeah.
Sean Malone, I wouldn't be there, I don't think.
No, probably not. Brendan
Byro.
R2
Rustalainen, he's back in the fold, correct?
No, R2 went to Europe.
Did he go back to Europe?
He's going back to Europe.
Yep. Okay, so Brandon Byro. Casey Fitzgerald is a guy I think would possibly be there.
Yeah, Casey would probably be there. Loxonen would probably be there.
Picard
like
again.
Yeah, Kulik's obviously going to be there. Hopefully Ostlund comes back around. That'd be nice.
Komarov, Rusek, Paterka will obviously be there. Quinn will obviously be there, I think. Savoy, again, if healthy, I think he'd be there. Nadeau.
Yeah,
Nadeau.
Nadeau, I believe I saw something at the beginning of the summer that he's getting some surgery. He'll be out for like about 6 months.
Okay, so he won't be there.
So he won't be there.
Ostlund, I would expect to be there.
Yeah, Ostlund, Rosen, Bloom, Kisakov.
Yeah, Isaac Rosine, sorry.
Yeah, Rosine.
Poltapov. Again, we mentioned Josh Bloom earlier, Yuri Kulik for sure. I mean, they have a good team that could contend for this thing, and I'm just looking for the goalies here, and in the system.
Yeah, no, in the system, with the exception of the two guys going back to college, it's Lennon and UPL and else. So
again, I mean,
if neither of them are showing up, that's going to be an interesting question mark.
Yes, so they're going to have to sign somebody on a tryout, kind of like they did when he went down during development camp. I forget who they brought up to play.
Was it Michael Hauser again?
No. It was just a standing goalie who actually performed pretty well. He made it to the championship game, I think, against Portillo, whose team.
Oh, yeah, the guy in the gray jersey who didn't have a nameplate.
Yeah, didn't know nameplate. Forget his name. They did announce it. I can't remember who it was, though. But with that being said, Steve, this gets me amped up for the season. Hopefully there's more good news to come. I did see there was rumblings. I'm not sure if there's any truth to this about Sabres being in talks, in the conversations for possibly bringing in Brassard. Did you hear that too? Or am I just,
I didn't hear it, but then again, I'm kind of stuck at my desk all day and I can't really look at Twitter all day. But that would be.
Was it Brassard? Is that what I heard?
I mean, it would be an interesting conversation to have, I suppose.
It was by Sabres Noise on the 22nd. Derek Brassard is still in the market. Will he end up with the Sabres? Just a name that was thrown out there. Again, just not a name to keep an eye on, but just excited. It's exciting during the offseason when there is no hockey to hear stuff like that. Not sure how much truth there is to that.
I mean, at the age of 34, that's a fourth line center acquisition, I would hope. I
agree, and that's where you think you probably have Zemgus Girgensson, correct? I mean, that's.
I mean, technically on his stat card it says he plays center, but I've pretty much only seen Zemgus on the left wing.
He's played up the middle too before.
I feel like I see him more often on just the left side rather than truly playing center. Although the last 2 years we've been graced with Cody Eakin, which I believe to this day has still not been signed.
He has not been signed anywhere, correct?
No.
That's the next big signing. They're going to announce Cody Eakin.
Don't even joke about that.
I'm going to tweet it out. I'm like, now announce Cody Eakin.
Protect your necks, boys and girls. Cody Eakin's coming back. And it's just the GIF. It's just the GIF of him doing the
I'm going to find the video.
Yes, to this moment, Cody Eakin has not been re-signed by any team in the league.
Yeah.
Which is about what you would expect.
Now announce Cody Eakin.
Don't do it.
Oh, do it. Yeah, I do.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Come on. Oh, man. You're just going to start hemorrhaging viewers talking about this. Cody Eakin signing. Don't even stop.
Now announce Cody Eakin, cowards.
Announce Cody Eakin signing, cowards. Yeah, I'm still a little bummed out. Johan Larson couldn't get a second go around, but right?
My analytical side. If the guy was such a valuable asset on a team, a winning team, then he would have found somewhere else to play.
I can also understand if he just too many bad memories. It's like, I think I've heard this song before.
But even outside of Buffalo, you could have gone if you were a valued player. you would have caught on somewhere else, man. He's been a little bit of a suitcase. So if he would have signed with a different team, this would have been his 5th team. So,
yep. Started with Minnesota, then Buffalo for a hot minute, Arizona, Washington. So yeah, that would have been his 5th team.
Yep, been his 5th team. So, I don't know, maybe when he goes overseas to play, maybe he has a great season, turns some heads, finds his way back in the NHL. But I don't know, man. I'm just I've never been a huge Johan Larsson advocate, and I get the analytics say he's a valuable player, but I mean, if that were the case, I mean, greater hockey minds would have caught on, and we got to have this guy on our team, and he's not. So, with that being said, that's all I really got, Steve.
I'm just getting real jazzed up for hockey. Fall's going to be lit. Hockey's back. Record a full length with the band. Play more video games because it's going to be cold outside, so I use that as an excuse to stay indoors more often. Yep. I'm looking forward to it. But God, what now? 3 weeks to the Prospects Challenge. That's how long I got to wait here. 2.5 weeks. I'm not counting the days.
This is a little nice quote tweeted out by the Sabres from Tage Thompson about almost an hour ago. This is a place I want to be at for a very long time. I want to be a guy that helps this team win and make the playoffs and win a Stanley Cup. And a lot of ands in here. And obviously, those are all just words. And you have got to put that into action. I'm excited to be a guy that's a Buffalo Sabre. And I think we've got a lot of guys in the room that feel the same way about our team as I do. A lot of big run-on sentence there in the beginning, but I have to agree with him. You like to hear that stuff, but like he said, when you put pen to paper, it's time to, actions speak louder than words now, especially that you put pen to paper. So with that being said, Steve, I'll hang up and listen. It's been a great time. Good seeing your scruffy face again.
How's that ship? Let's not bury the lead here. You got yourself a ship.
A ship? Oh, yes.
Yeah, come on now. Let's not sign off before we can pump your tires.
Foundation.
Coley spends so much time pumping his tires from his time in the O. We can give you a little praise.
I want to see us bring the trophy for our
cats away. The Duanes will play.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring the trophy on show. Next time we go live or have a show, I'm gonna bring the trophy on and shove it up his.
Please get a swirly straw and just drink out of it the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
I'll have to make sure it's cleaned out before I even think about doing that. Yeah, it was a fun. I actually got indefinitely suspended for the end of the season and most of the playoffs, and they let me play for the finals, which was cool. So I got a little bit of a goalie fight, a little bit of a tilt with another goaltender who was a little bit of a lunatic. I won't get into too much details. I'll save that story for the next show. But it was quite the story. I will say that there was a headbutting incident during this. Yes.
Were you wearing helmets or did the mask come off?
Helmet. So it was very reminiscent in the beginning, at least, of that scene from Goon where Banzai motherfucker and tackles the other goalie. Very reminiscent of that without the Banzai motherfucker. So with that, Steve, I will hang up and listen. And remember, guys, follow us on Two Goalies One Mike at Trainwreck Sports, at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube, pretty much anywhere you get your podcast. And be sure to go to Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case on game night. Bill season, Sabre seasons are upcoming. So game day and game night, get over to Outlet Liquor on Dick Road or near Georgia and Boulevard near Dick Road, and get yourself a case. Don't waste your time. Go get a case. I'm making up my own,
We gotta get this boy some cue cards to read.
Yeah, right. So, guys, again, I'll hang up and listen. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of your week. Stay tuned. Me and Cully will be back at you hopefully soon for the newest season. I guess we're gonna start this. Make this season 2 officially of Two Goalies One Mike, and we will talk to you guys soon. And can't wait.
Looking forward to it.